Boulevard and Ventura Boulevard closed down to all vehicular traffic for a Sunday, in this case, from 9 to 4. And so if you haven't experienced it, this is as close as it's gotten so far to the West Valley. So I do, and I have some more on the back table there. Wearing my neighborhood council hat, just wanted to make sure that all of the board members got the invitation for the Valley Alliance Neighborhood Council's 12th anniversary mixer next Thursday, a week from tonight. As of this weekend, when I got a report of registrations, I think there was only one person from Granada Hills South, so we'd like to see everyone there. So if you don't have the invitation, we can resend it. In fact, we may anyway, just as a reminder. But great to see a good crowd. We usually have about 200 people there. And so 34 neighborhood councils in the valley, so that works out to whatever, 7 per neighborhood council. So if you meet that, that would be super. And then lastly, regarding blank, the LA Neighborhood Council Coalition is meeting this Saturday. And our featured speaker is, 2 of our featured issues. One is the, and I'm still waiting for the agenda to come out, should come out tonight. The general manager of the LA Department of Water and Power with some of the recent issues. So specifically, a request was made out to meet with neighborhood council leaders. So if you have any DWP focused people or anyone wants to attend that, that will be at the DWP headquarters downtown, 10 a.m. on Saturday. And then the other featured issue is the issue of online voting, which I know you have on your agenda today. But at that session, it will be an opportunity for neighborhood council citywide to address the general manager and each other and possibly some of the vendors. 1 or more of the vendors have submitted bids. And I am here for that item on your agenda, although if you don't have a quorum, you may not do much on it. But I am here for that, and I have been attending the meetings, and I'd be happy to weigh in on that if you like. So I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Well, appreciate it. Mr. William Kuzman, turn in the speaker card.
Did I hear we don't have a quorum? Did I hear we don't have a quorum yet?
Not as of yet.
Hi everybody, my name is William Kuzman. I'm a stakeholder here in Granada Hills. The thing that I did want to mention tonight is about the special meeting that was called for the 24th of February. First of all, a special meeting should be for items that are of an urgent nature that have to be addressed before the next regular meeting. I didn't see anything on the agenda when I did finally see it that had to do with an emergency or a time-sensitive item. The other issue that happened with it is I don't understand why we didn't do an email blast through our web system to everybody that signed up so that at least we could have known about it the day before. Because I didn't get my ENS notification until 3 p.m. the afternoon of February 24th. In other words, about 3.5 hours before the meeting was to occur. I would have loved to have come to the meeting to learn about the community impact statements and see the presentation. But I was out on appointments Wednesday afternoon. I had dinner, an appointment after dinner, and when I got home at 9 o'clock, I saw that a meeting was scheduled. So I never even knew you had a meeting. So hopefully the next time a special meeting is scheduled, we can get an email blast out as soon as it's scheduled so that stakeholders can have a little bit of notice and we can come and see what great thing you were doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Where are you coming? All right. Hearing none.
Do we have a comment?
There we go. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Come on.
That's
Come on in.
This is my first time here, so I don't know your procedure.
No, that's fine.
If
Thank
I'm
you so
supposed
much.
to give you this, or-
Please do. So get your name. It's
I'm
easier
just
for the
told-
minutes. Thank you. Is
It's a repeat.
a repeat.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to speak to you guys privately, if I'm supposed to stay in front of everybody.
No, it's public comment. You
Oh, okay.
get 2 minutes to comment.
Okay, it'll be really quick. I own a home, down here in Granada Hills. I've been living here for, 10 years years now, and we built a recreation room in the back because our lot was so big. And, it's been there for 3 years, it's with permits and everything. And I wanna, bring my mom down from Arizona to live there, but I wanted, to have it as a second dwelling. And I went to the city and, to have its own meters, electricity put on there. And, basically I was told that I was supposed to let you guys know that that's what I hopefully wanna do, and I got the petition. Go ahead.
Just so you're clear, Mr. Master is the vice chair of our planning.
Planning and land use, we have it, you're on our agenda for our next meeting later this month.
Oh, I am on it?
Yeah, you're on the agenda.
Oh, okay, so don't speak now?
Well,
okay.
this isn't really the place, we take care of planning and land use issues at our committee meetings, and then we, after we decide what we're gonna do, we may bring it to this meeting for a final vote.
Okay, I
But
wasn't
yeah,
sure.
it has to be to our committee, but you are already listed. I've
Oh,
seen your
okay.
emails, Jerry has sent me copies of all your emails, and, but yeah, you're on our agenda.
Okay, so don't talk.
No, you're more than welcome to speak.
You can
That's
speak, all I'm
fine.
saying is
But
that,
I'm good.
yeah, you're good.
That's all I wanted to say, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't like talking in front of people, so.
Thank you
But
so
that was
much.
basically it. That's all I wanted to say. I wasn't sure what to do it now or later. I was a little confused.
Yeah, the
But thank you
committee,
anyways.
the committee handles those issues and then brings them back to the board
Okay,
for
perfect.
final approval.
Okay, we're 2 minutes left.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. Any other public comment? Community speakers, Council 12, Tanya Cornett.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya, I represent Councilmember Mitchell Englander of the 12th Council District. Hello. Very short update here. Councilmember Englander submitted a motion asking the city attorney to prepare a drafting ordinance that would allow for the impounding of vehicles involved in hit and runs. He has also expanded that motion to include vehicles that are involved with street racing as well. We did have a fatal car crash happening not too long ago, in which 2 bystanders were actually killed by cars that were involved in street racing. So he has asked LAPD and the city attorney to draft ordinances to see how we can impound vehicles that are involved in crimes related to hit and run and street racing. Other than that, the Los Angeles City, we just had our primary election on Tuesday, and candidates winning more than 50% of the vote win the seat that they're running for, and that included for Council District 2, it was Paul Krikorian. Council District 6, Nori Martinez. Council District 8 is Marky Harris Dawson. Council District 10 is Herb Weston Jr., and Council District 12, Council Nicolay. And as in addition, Charter Amendments 1 and 2 both passed, and with this, both passed with more than 76% of the vote. And what this will do is it will change the Los Angeles City elections as well as the LAUSD elections to begin on even numbered years, beginning in the year 2020.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just had one question I have not been able to get an answer to. You may not be able to answer it, maybe you'll listen to it. The two charter amendments on the ballot affected city offices, city council, and the citywide offices. And number 2 was LAUSD, that there was nothing on the ballot to change the Los Angeles Community College District election.
Okay.
And everyone I've been asked has not been able to answer how it is we can move those 2, city and school district, which approved by a vote of the voters, but the community college was not on the ballot.
Around that.
And how could that be changed without that?
To give you for sure answer, I'll research, but it's going to be something, it'll go through the same procedure where it have to be placed on the ballot and the voters will have to vote on it. But I will provide you more information, I'll research it and give you.
A lot of people have asked that question to me, so it might be good if you put it in your newsletter or something, so that since the question's been raised, I couldn't answer it.
I'll get back to you on that then, I'll do some research.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, hi. Is there anything new as far as council files from CD 12 or the city that you think might interest us? I know at one meeting we had, Megan said she would help
question. Are you looking to just have access to the?
No, we're looking on things that might be coming up that you
Well,
might know about. before.
Here's what's what's good about the account file is that you can search it, any topics or motion that you would like, and you actually sign up for updates. So the thing is that with us, it's not, kind of explain the way you get updated. Obviously, it's things that the accounting actually working on, but let's say it's something that's like with another committee. There are so many things moving through city council. If you kind of narrow it down for me, I'm more than happy to provide that for you. But what I suggest if you go onto the city clerk's website, and this is public for anyone, if there's any motion that you're interested in going to the council, you can sign up for updates. Anytime there's an update or a change, it automatically will email you. And so that's actually what I suggest if there's something particularly you're looking for. As I said, there's so much happening in the council, it would be hard for me to just give you like a full list. And things can happen, and it can even be something submitted like a year or two ago, it hasn't expired and it comes up again. So it's, there's hundreds of items on the phone. But I'm more than happy to connect with you later also if you have any topics.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Englander made a proposal, I don't know if it's passed or not, I was wondering if you could clarify for me that if anybody is dealt with a hit and run and a fatality, there's $50,000 reward if leading to the apprehension of that person. And for a hit and run and just a bodily injury, it was $25,000, and so on and so forth. Did that pass?
You know, I'd have to check on, because normally the way it's done is that LAPD will put out the request for a specific like dollar amount or reward, and then it goes to the council and the council can vote it. I'm trying to recall, because I know that's kind of, it was included in the motion, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it was really a
the
motion.
sheer-
I don't remember.
I can clarify that.
Okay, cool.
You know, I heard about that, but isn't there supposed to be a certain amount of time passes to get people to weigh in on it before they turn around and make it an ordinance or put it up as a reward or whatever?
To weigh in on the reward amount?
Well,
Or-
to weigh in on the motion from city council, isn't there a certain amount of time that has to?
Well, it gets presented, so they submit as a motion, if you have somebody who seconded it, and they submit a motion, and by somebody, another council member. But if you mean like public comments?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's posted, it goes to the committees first. So when it goes to public safety committee, that's when they open it up for public comment, people can come in and, so that's how it works, so once you push it.
But there is a certain amount of time given so public can weigh in.
Yeah, it'll go to committee first.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Ross said it passed unanimously on.
It's on our website.
Are we, which one are you talking about? There's a new one that we were just doing, which is an expanded one, and then there's one that had passed in 2014.
Right, there's a companion legislation that
Yes.
may not be there yet, but
That's
according to
what's
our
currently
website.
happening, the companion one, yeah.
Yeah, the Los Angeles, it says Los Angeles implements citywide hit and run alert and reward system, and it passed unanimously on that.
Yes.
So,
Is that the same one?
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies, I should clarify. This is just a companion to that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Connie. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna move past, board issues and updates because of a lack of quorum. Officers' reports. I'd like to pass this along yet again. We do certainly have an open seat, and as you can tell, we certainly are in need of board members who can make it to the meetings on a regular basis. So if you're interested, please get in touch with me. I understand that. Yeah. So moving along, one thing to be aware of, everybody, is either in April or May, our meeting is going to, or the first Thursday will be open house for the school. So we'll have to reschedule that meeting. So having said that, just be aware of that. As soon as I get it confirmed from the school, I'll pass the word and we'll reschedule. They've already said we can have it the week after, but I didn't get the exact date. They also offered, Jim, Granada's also offered to let us set up a booth at back to school night. So that will be April and May, so if that's something you might want to take up in terms of, and it would be shorter, I mean, compared to a lot of our outreach, it will only be a couple hours, but it's 4,000 kids, 8,000 parents, and who knows how many others, so be a good event. Only if you run the home. Hang on a second, please. Rick. So we have treasurer's report, can't deal with outreach, can't deal with planning and land use, can't deal with education. Ms. Abraham, I appreciate you coming, and obviously we'll get the NBG grant to the education committee and try and get it back for next month's meeting. The chair of our public safety committee meeting is here, so number 8-4, you can speak on that.
Okay,
Ross?
so we had our CERT class.
Please note that Ms. Colstad has arrived. Thank you,
And
Sal.
that happened Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and it's gonna be every Tuesday for the next 7 Tuesdays. And what this is it's a community emergency response team. If you're interested in understanding how to do triage, like for an earthquake, how to help save somebody's life, how most of all to protect your own life in a catastrophe, a CERT class is for you. And it's 3 hours every Tuesday. For the next 7 Tuesdays, you're gonna get a certificate from the Los Angeles County Fire Department. Firefighter Susan Jansen is teaching it. I would highly recommend it for anyone who lives in Southern California, where we do have earthquakes, we do have fires, we do have things that occur. There's also another component to the course, terrorism, and response from the community, how to respond to all types of disasters, plus things like terrorism. So I would highly recommend it, and remember, Tuesdays, for the next 7 Tuesdays, here in this room, starting 6 p.m. And we had 27
That's
at our
great.
first, and that was thanks to Michael, he's been doing it.
Thank you.
It's on the Eventbrite at 6 o'clock, and it's 6 to 9. If she starts at 6:30, then.
Thank you very much, Ross, appreciate it. Item 7, bylaws and rules. Can you ask for any report?
I don't believe
Nothing on the agenda.
anything that we can talk about other than I will be holding a meeting on the 17th, Bylaws and Rules Committee. We're going to speak on council file that has been brought to our attention. And also, we're going to look into, we have 8 committees. We have 8 standing committees, and the thing about it is, the duties of those committees really aren't outlined in our bylaws, and that's something we have to rectify to make it clear exactly what those duties are, because some of these committees really aren't doing that much, and we need to really outline exactly what all their duties are. So if you'd like to come to that meeting, I have to schedule it here. It'll probably be in the library.
What's that?
All our meetings are at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So.
I have a public comment, please.
Announcement?
It's your meeting, I mean, it's your,
Okay.
Just, I'm really glad that you're having the bylaws meeting, and I just kind of want to remind you that we've had a lot of bylaws changes, and we don't have a prepared list of those changes for final submission to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and our cutoff date is May 1st. So we have to have any changes that we've made over the last, well, since the election, I would guess, since the beginning of last year. All those changes, hopefully we can get those consolidated and on the agenda so we can review them and get a revised set of bylaws ready to be approved to get to done before May 1st. Thank you.
Working on that as we speak.
Mr. Masker? Okay. Well, I'm afraid that because we do not have a quorum and it's a half hour past the beginning of the meeting, I'm afraid we have to adjourn.
Call people, I call their name.
Yeah, it's still only at 10. So, yeah, we got 9 minutes. We get 2 minutes.
There's Ryan.
Oh, okay. Trinidad has arrived, like it's to 10,
But you're still adjourning.
and we're still shy of 1. Yep. Thank you for the effort. It is a tough time of year for people who are in the, some business.
So we want to try to talk.
Yeah.
Next season.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. All right.
I propose that we extend the meeting for at least another 10 minutes, hopefully.
Well, what I'm gonna do is go to, number 9, board member comments. Ross?
No comment other than, please take the CERT training. It protects you. That's the purpose of the training. It keeps you alive during a disaster. The entire reason why CERT exists is because so many people died trying to save somebody else in the Mexico City earthquake that had to leave after the movie. So that's the reason why it exists, and it's here for us, and it's free. So please attend.
Mr. Masker?
We've been trying to get these funding guidelines done, and we've been working on this for the last 4.5 months or so, but we can't seem to get a quorum. One of the things, let me emphasize this, and I'm sure Glenn can testify to that, that we need to get a hold of our funding. I mean, right now, we're already talking about the fact that we're being told that we have to change our webmaster. And those changes will come with a sticker price. We have to get those funding guidelines under control so we know exactly how much money we can give for neighborhood purpose grants and so forth and so on. And I know for a fact, every one of us in this room, we do that with our own home accounts. We have to have control of them, so we make sure that we have money at the end of the month so we can pay our next month's bills. And we have to do the same thing here. And that's what these funding guidelines are about. So we can have more control, because stuff like like I said, we've got a young lady here who's already asking for some money for a school trip, and I'm sure we'd like to accommodate that, but we also have our regular business that we have to attend to, and more strain is being put on our budget every year, it seems. And I know the budget advocates have been asking the city to increase our yearly budget, and especially now that they're telling us we have to change our webmaster. And that is gonna cost us more money, so. Yeah, in fact, I have already sent a letter to Gracie asking that she not have this implemented, because when was it at the last meeting that they said that at bank, that they said they were going to, it would probably come into fruition within the next 2 months? Well, most of the neighborhood councils, they're at the end of their budget year, and to impose an increase on us at that time, I find that just egregious, because most neighborhood councils really don't have that kind of money to start then. And I was asking her if she would start that at our next budget year when we were fully funded. rather than at the end of our budget year when we don't have it. So anyway, that's the announcement I wanted to make on that score. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren? Oh, sorry, Ralph. You want to comment
Yeah, I
on
was
that?
gonna comment. We got a Hilton North together, we had the meeting proposed to us, and we had the Christmas dinner. And like they all, suggestions and recommended that if the cost of the new webmaster was going to be $10,000 rather than $3,000, then that should be added on to our budget because we didn't have any decision making into that.
I agree. I agree.
That's fine. I mean, just so, you know, got it. Okay, I'm sure we all agree with that, but the reality is you haven't gotten the guidelines yet from done, so let's see what they actually say. Mr. Lopez,
Yes, thank you. Members who showed up.
you try.
I'd like to thank Lori.
Oh, you got a winner here.
Yay.
Oh, Mr. Schimmelheim, we got a quorum. All right.
All right.
Go ahead, Darren, you're up anyway. What were you gonna say?
I'd like to thank Lori Abraham for coming from Tulsa Elementary School. Been working with her and the principal, Lester Powell, the new principal at Tulsa Elementary. Very proactive preschool. And he's actually turned that school around. And there's a couple of projects that we like to work on, and hopefully we can get them done.
Okay. All right, with the quorum, we're gonna roll back for a moment then. Mr. Schimmelheim, have a seat. First thing we're gonna go to is, number 3, approval of minutes.
Do we have minutes?
Yeah, we have minutes. You're in the packet. Thanks for making that. Okay, so,
We're gonna start from the beginning again?
review the minutes. Board members.
No.
Is that- Okay, any immediate requests for revisions from board members? Mr. Kuzmin?
Yes, I'm having a problem with the meeting being continued. You did not have a quorum at 7 o'clock, 30 minutes after the meeting was scheduled to begin. You've had stakeholders that have left the room based on the fact that you weren't going to get a quorum. So I think the meeting should be adjourned and we should go home.
You're more than welcome to, sir. Okay, any revisions for the minutes? None, seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please, yeah, okay, well, you know, it's here. All right. I'll make the motion to approve. Have a second?
Second.
Master seconds. All those in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Jim Silvers abstains. Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on. Okay, we are to agenda item 5. 5.
Don't you have to
6.
start over again with a full quorum?
Sir, you just interrupted, please do not. We all know what's happened over the last 20 minutes. We're doing the best we can, the situation we're in. If you insist on interrupting from the floor, I'm gonna ask you to leave. That's your first and only warning. Thank you. Item 6, board issues and updates. Note the members voting on financial issues must have passed the necessary Department of Neighborhood Empowerment training courses. Item 1, appointment and confirmation and/or oath of office of new board members. We have an open community organization seat. Mr. Benedetto has asked to be considered. Just so the board members are aware and the public is aware, after consultation with Dunn and the city attorney, if Mr. Benedetto resigns his current seat and we agree to appoint him to the open seat, that's completely legitimate. So, having said that, Mr. Benedetto, are you willing to resign?
I am.
Okay. I accept your resignation. Going to have public comment, and then Mr. Benedetto will present his qualifications for the open seat. Any public comment on this issue? Mr. Kuzman?
Hi, everybody, I'm William Guzman. I read the bylaws today and to see what the procedure was regarding moving a board member from one seat to another. And of course, the agenda said that he was going to be removed and then appointed. And now the agenda item is changed, and you are asking Mr. Benedetto to resign tonight. I'm not sure what the procedure is. There's nothing in the bylaws that talks about whether a resignation has to be board approved or not, and by what kind of majority, if so. And I would say that if Mr. Benedetto was going to resign, then that should have been on the agenda as a separate agenda item, as it was with the last board member that resigned from this board, and that was in 2013, when the faith-based representative resigned. So, not sure that, you know, again, I want to say I don't have a problem with what you want to do here. I'm only having a problem with the parliamentary procedure by which it's being done.
Okay, well, city attorney and Dunn have both been at this, so moving on. Mr. Bailey.
So if you're at a bare quorum, you just had a resignation, then mark your quorum, and you might want to rethink that, at least maybe during the rest of the meeting, or wait to see if someone else comes in. You can't take action to appoint somebody to a new position if you tell you want to.
Yeah, when we lose our form.
Good point, Glenn.
We have to wait till another time.
Waive your immediate resignation.
I waive that.
Thank you. Moving on.
I'm waiving.
All right, item 2, this is the language for the neighborhood purpose grant related project funding guidelines. As Mr. Bannister said, this has been discussed for a while. The reason that it's not coming forward as a committee item is because we basically didn't have a quorum on the joint committees that met. There is a draft, and if the members can look at it, this is basically very similar language to what was presented before. The only significant change upon direction from the city is basically the onus of some of these recommendations have been placed on the applicants as opposed to on the neighborhood council.
Well, I brought this here forward because I found that we need to take better control, as I said, of our finances and how we dole out these neighborhood purpose grants so we don't get stuck. So many times, as tonight, people come here and they don't contact the neighborhood council, which they can do by email just to find out which committee they're supposed to go to. The young lady who was here,
Actually, it's just education. Do you wanna move this and we can discuss it before we get too much deeper into it?
what do you mean move it?
Well, make a motion.
Oh, well, yeah, I want to make a motion that we adopt these funding guidelines for the purpose of neighborhood council, so we can get better control of our funding.
Yes.
So do I have a second?
Seconded. All right, so it's on the last page, basically. Public comment? Hearing none.
This is agenda
Board comment? It's agenda item
2.
two.
Yeah.
And it's on the back page. Board discussion? Jim?
Yeah, these are a lot of items, so we might want to take them one at one. Like on number 1, it says provide lasting value to the Granada South community stakeholders, including widespread community impact. A lot of the things outreach does has nothing to do, it's not long lasting, it's just informing people. I'm sure, you know, I'm gonna have my outreach.
But you don't need,
This is for neighborhood purpose grants.
this is a
Right.
purpose grant, so what's it got to do with outreach?
Well, you have to outreach for the purpose grants. You have to tell people. I know you don't have to, but you should,
No, you don't.
okay?
Okay. Any other board?
So, well, coming back to that, how about the field trip, to go to San Fernando Mission, you know, so that means we can't, that's
But
not
how
lasting
is that,
value.
how is that necessarily outreach? It is of
It's not outreach.
lasting value to the kids and their parents.
Okay, as long as you have it that way, it's fine.
Any other board member comments on
So basically, we're voting, I mean, we're,
Adopting
simply
these,
to adopt these recommendations for
so they're just basically that.
essentially?
yeah, that's what I said, guidelines.
So, number 11, how does that get done and implemented? Where we're asking for, sponsored by the Granada South County Council, is there a plaque we're requesting?
Well, it depends on the applicant, what they're going to do with the funds, and so forth and so on. Let's say the little girl who requested funding for a field trip. How about if we ask them to wear a T-shirt saying that they're,
Are we gonna provide the t-shirts for them?
we should add that to the funding? Why not? Why not?
Well-
I think obviously it's a case by case kind of.
Yeah, I
Some-
understand that,
some-
but see, a lot of these people are gonna look at that. Obviously, we're here all the time. I mean, we got tons of stickers.
The problem is that most of the time when people come and ask us, and this is a done a priority, that they say we have to ask that we be accredited with the funding in some way, shape, or form. If we just give them money and they go on a trip, how does community know who paid for that trip? So all we're doing is we're asking them up front, come and tell us how you are going to,
I believe we haven't had that kind of trouble.
we have,
I mean, we've had our name listed on robots, on basketball.
but that's just it. You're right, you're right. That was a problem that I had with the robot. The robot is a robot that's moving around in an arena 30 feet away from everybody else. Can you read a plaque that's this big?
It's a robot, who cares?
All I'm saying is, they don't come to us and say, this is how we're going to,
But we're still impacting the community by providing funding for
But-
these kids.
And I think all that anybody's asking is that there's an acknowledgement
Yes,
to
there's-
whatever level is appropriate for the activity that's being.
exactly. And that they should
I mean,
come.
you know, as an example, right, didn't Granada go south provide money for the little park where we had?
Yes.
Okay. I walked over there and I was looking around for any kind of recognition for Granada go south.
No, that was not a neighborhood purpose grant.
Oh, okay.
That is what we decided to adopt ourselves, to do that for the holiday lighting. We do that, that's what
But
we.
it seems kind of nice to know that.
There's a plaque, there's a plaque.
Oh, there's a-
There is.
Yeah.
Again, these are just guidelines, and they're meant to be somewhat specific, if you put specifics in there, then you start pigeonholing the applicants and us from being able to approve it, so. Sponsored by the club for interpretation, obviously, as a board, if we don't feel that it's enough recognition, then we're not gonna approve it. Those types of things will be vetted out during the process of when the person comes here, the applicant comes here to ask for our money. So a lot of these things, again, they're gonna see, we'll use these ourselves to determine if it's proper to approve the grant or not. But that's what I mentioned.
I'd like to, since we were talking about budget before this, could we put something in there specifying a limit by which we do the grants maybe, just so that we have enough to spread around when everybody else approaches us for money as well?
You know, that's very good, because I was thinking the same thing, because I think that's gonna happen to us whether we put it in there or not, because certain things are being mandated by the city, and that's gonna impact our budget no matter how you do it. So we will automatically have to look at, okay, how much can we give to spread it around for any neighborhood purpose grant?
Like a threshold, so
Yeah.
that from this point, we either can bring it up or down, but in general, this is what we're gonna have.
And then there are
It
funding,
should be a case-by-case basis.
yeah, and then there are funding issues that we have adopted ourselves, like the holiday tree. I suggested that to Jim that, like the Easter egg hunt coming up. That's not a neighborhood purpose grant. That's a project that we have taken on ourselves as part of outreach. So we don't have to do anything. We can budget that into our yearly budget without having to do that. But some of these things that come before us, they have no idea that they're supposed to say where the money came from at all. They haven't even thought about it. At least by putting it here, and we give them these guidelines, they'll say, okay, we have to think of an appropriate way to thank for the funding. So that's all it is.
And I would be careful looking too restrictive on anything, because,
Yeah.
you know, I can't offer what the exception's gonna be, but there's always an exception. And the reality is, whatever we put out today, you know, at the board, 4 or 6 or 10 years from now, we'll be dealing with it. So my own personal preference would be to leave it, put the onus on the applicant to fulfill these requirements, but obviously leave it to the board in terms of deciding the amounts or whatever would be appropriate for each case by case thing.
And remember, the applicant has probably already did a budget, because they're coming to us saying how much they're gonna need for this project or that project. If that's the case, they will automatically know we also have to budget in an appropriate way to say that this money was given.
Jim?
Yes, I kind of like Renee's idea as a guideline, based on the fact that some of our projects have been really unbelievably expensive compared to what our board
Yeah.
is. I would like to set, just as a guideline, $500, and I'm referring to a clock that was $5,000, the robotic that was $3,000. I don't know how much the the system was for the school, that was also a few $1,000s. And I like to spread it around more, because when I'm looking back in the money spent, it's going to certain groups and not the whole community. So I would like to, just as a guideline, say $500, and I don't know if that was a formal motion, but a second.
On the agenda.
This is something that is kind of a question for me. But the community involves, it involves churches and synagogues that have events that are open to the general public. Is it open?
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's pure and clear. It's from the city policy, and obviously there's First Amendment issues. We cannot fund we can't fund activities of religious institutions. And that's in the neighborhood purpose grant application that's come down to us from Dunn, which is, if anybody's curious, we have it online, it's on the website, it's interesting reading. And frankly, anyone who comes comes to us, and I do give the people who have come forward tonight credit, they filled them out. So, just as a heads up.
Well, it's a different issue altogether. It doesn't belong under the neighborhood purpose grants.
Sal?
Just a suggestion, maybe next year, or when our new funding comes in the spring, maybe, do the vegetation plan at some fund, and that would be what goes out as far as people coming in schools and asking for them. And when it's done, when you're out of money, you're out of money.
I think that's, honestly, I think a lot of these ideas are probably best taken up at the budget committee level.
Yeah.
To be frank. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with any of it, I'm just saying for the
That was
purpose.
just a suggestion.
Yeah, no, I
just think that, there's so many schools that come in,
I think that's a great suggestion. All I'm trying to say is for the purposes of tonight's, item and discussion, these are very general. That's how they came out of the joint committee, and if we don't really have, real problems with any of them, I would counsel get to move along. So we have a lot on the agenda. Any other board member comment on this?
So Renee's motion doesn't go, or?
Is it a suggestion or a motion? Or do you, or do you want
Actually, it was a suggestion, and, but the figure I had was actually less than that. But, the idea is the same, basically, to limit and spread out.
But again, I think that should go through the budget committee.
All right.
So, I don't want this to be interpreted as self-serving, but there's a lot of paperwork and time that goes into processing these neighborhood purpose grants. If you go on Ask Don what the average neighborhood purpose grant is, it's not less than 500, it's not 500. They have schools, all the ones that I've done have been in the thousands, because it's for a project, an improvement, it's something that's substantial. $500 is nothing, it's supplies. It's not gonna be anything substantial, and I don't know any treasurer is gonna sit there doing, we have $30,000, let's just say we allocate that to neighborhood purpose grants. You have 300 neighborhood, it just is not gonna happen. And it needs to be much higher.
I understand what you're saying, but I think the point is not the extra paperwork, that's the reason we're not doing it that way. The idea is behind exactly, for instance, when these people approach, they ask for $1,000. Actually, 500 a lot of times will do, but they're fundraising, so the idea is the more I can get from whichever person I can get, I'll take. But if they cut it in half, they're willing to live with that as well. You gotta remember, fundraising is part of the process, and that if you can get it from one entity or one person, like a board, then they'll help them from having to go outside and go further.
And, that's what I was talking about earlier. Why my bylaws meeting later this month is I'm gonna outline, because the committees are supposed to do their due diligence researching this. When somebody comes to them, don't just give them what they ask for. Research and see how much, do they have a budget? A lot of times they'll come and say, well, we need $500. Well, what was your budget? How much is this gonna cost? Do a breakdown of it when you come to us, we believe that the committees have already done this work. But if you just pass along what they've asked you for, we don't know, because it comes out of committee.
I'm sorry, I need to respond. It's not just a self-serving comment. I mean, obviously, we want to utilize as much of the funds as possible, but you can't expect any treasurer to do that kind of paperwork when you work full-time, 50+ hours and have a family. And I'm sorry, you can't put that onus on one person. If you'd like to take over that job and say how much work that is, and still say that, well, paperwork isn't that much shouldn't be about paperwork, well, it is. We're volunteers. I'm not gonna be able to do neighborhood purpose grants for $100. It's just not gonna happen. I try. My early rate is way more than that.
I understand that.
But let me finish. These are guidelines to a person that sits there and reads them, and they see $100. They're gonna, why would I come here? I will spread it for every single little plant that we have to. It's not going to be substantial enough. For these projects that come to us, we give computers to Tulsa Elementary. That was $5,000. We improved all these different areas. The flag out here. $100 is not gonna work, $500 isn't gonna work. It just, it isn't. The amount, if we were to change this, which I don't think the board wants to, it's my feeling. Again, gives you a general guidelines, it's gonna have to be more than $500. But my vote is to keep it the way it is, only the general.
And I'd like to make 2 points. Very clearly, we do say that this should not be for ongoing operations and maintenance type stuff. These are supposed to be projects that have some impact. And the point is, $500 is not going to have a significant capital impact on the capital improvement project. We also make the point that we ask them to seek out matching funds. So we aren't the bank of last resort. So, I mean, these came out of, I thought, some pretty thoughtful discussions at the joint board meeting. And really all that's changed since they came forward the first time was a couple of typographical things and basically putting the onus more on the applicant rather than us. So, I understand everybody's concerns, and I think they're very valid. We are coming to the end of a fiscal year, and we do have some cash on hand, so just keep that in mind, because if we don't find a way to put it out in the community, it's gonna go to city hall. Having said that, is there any further discussion on, did you want to offer a motion or not?
I will offer it as a motion.
Okay, so then please state it as a motion.
Yes, I would like to recommend that we put a limit to the grant at $500, and for the board to evaluate it based on that, whether they want to increase it or lessen it. I'm just saying that there should be a threshold, that there should be to set that for us to consider something higher.
Is there a second for?
I'll second.
Can you comment on the motion?
Sure.
Okay. Especially for a applicant of this nature, we can't, in my opinion, rubber stamp a particular amount, which happens. The whole purpose of neighborhood council is to look at each item, based on itself. I'm not saying we haven't made mistakes, I can point out a few, but we've learned from those mistakes, and we've learned from some of the good that has gone on in what we did. So I'm in favor of leaving it the way it is.
Okay. Kareem?
Good job.
All right, come on.
I feel like stating it the way it was now, it makes it seem exclusive to some parties, and what the neighborhood council is basically about having an inclusive community, so I think that
Eric?
Well, the only thing I would say is there should be a cap on how much we can give, because we do have a limited budget. Now, I do believe that that's the only cap, but as far as, I don't want to tell somebody you can't ask us for this, that, and the other, but if we have an upward cap, because somebody could come and ask us for the whole 30,000. We don't have to, that just ain't gonna happen. And somebody sooner or later will ask for quite a bit of money, and that's the only cap that I think we should have. But, let me say this, I think that this is the wrong forum to have that. This is a committee issue, not tied to the budget guidelines. Because the budget guidelines, we don't talk about, there's nothing in these guidelines to talk about caps or anything else, or how much. We've gotten off the track on this, and I think if you guys wanna come up with wanna bring this to the budget committee, fine, because that's where this needs to be hashed out, if you guys wanna put any kind of limits or something like that, but not here.
Okay, Ross?
I disagree with the cap on something like this, because it ties our feet to the floor in the future. Anything that does that removes our ability to make decisions. We were elected to make decisions for our community, and I think financial decisions are one of the main important things that we do.
You mean cap or?
Just any capital in terms of monetary things, I don't agree with, I think that we should be able to.
$30,000 would be a big.
Well, we'll
All right.
say no to that. I wouldn't do it. Then unless it's.
Everybody,
Okay.
please, it's already.
Yeah.
But
ready
again,
passed. This-
again, this is a budget committee issue,
Okay.
not funding guidelines.
All right, so any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion to put the $500 amount into this as a recommendation, which is all this is, signify by saying aye. I'm sorry, roll call vote. Mr. Summers? You're aye, correct?
Right.
Yes, all right.
Likewise.
Okay. Mr. Benedetto? Mr. Schindler? Sally?
What?
Are you voting aye or no on the
No.
motion? No on the motion, please. Mr. Morris, no. Sorry, you can't vote, it's financial. Darren? No. Ross?
No.
And all vote no, Mr. Chairman. All right. Okay, back to the original motion, basically to adopt the 13 recommendations as they are. Any further discussion? Seeing none? What's that?
Number 11, I'd like everybody to consider possibly adding that we recognize that at some assembly or the event itself, if possible.
You know, I think promoted covers that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
pretty
mean,
wide
we
language, it's
can't
pretty wide
start
language.
being specific.
Just to let them know.
We definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so again, okay, the 13 recommendations as they're currently drafted. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you for everyone who's worked on that over the last couple of months. Appreciate that. All right, so that takes care of 5.2. All right, moving into officers' reports. Vice President's not here. Treasurer, Mr. Schindler, thank you.
Hammered out this, went to sleep last night at 5:30 and I'll wake up at 6 this morning, so I did it. So, you look down at the bottom, I guess I printed them double-sided. At the title, it says Granada Hills South, February 20th, 2015. The changes from last month, I'll just run down. Website, virtual office, we paid Aaron DeVandry 3 months worth that we hadn't billed it and paid. A total of $750, $250 a month. We paid November somehow, but not October, December, and January. So that's the reason there's a gap in the months. We paid $117 for Togos at the February 2015 meeting. We voted on encumbering up to $100 for the candidate quorum, up to $500 for the spring egg hunt. We paid the RNC Tree Company $3,500 for the holiday tree lights at Veterans Park. We voted on reallocating $1,000 from temp services to the rental, to the storage facility. And I guess the special board meeting, is that what
That's what that was.
$99, beers on the wall, no, 99. So those are $5.59 to Ralph's. Both those with the special board meeting. All that's coming out of general outreach. Meeting expenses, there were $150 to Pulse of Life for Eagle Box, which was that for the full this coming year?
That's everything.
So we probably need a wage sheet.
Yeah.
We had some bank fees of $111. Temp services, we paid administrator for January, finally on time, we did it correctly this time. $158.73 to Partners University. That's the agency. And last items out of facilities and space rental is we allocated $1,000 from temp services, and we also paid